How's it going, everybody? Keegan here with Relentless Ridge Pursuit. We're going to do a video with some troubleshooting. It's going to be just a quick one here. We're just going to go over some basic troubleshooting steps. The one thing I would recommend getting is the multimeter, like we were talking about in some of the beginning videos. Again, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just normal multimeter you can get at, Menards, Fleet Farm, whatever it is. All you got to be able to do is check DC voltage with a lot of the tests that we're going to talk about right now. So the first thing I'm going to just quickly talk about is control boards. So you're going to see a couple different options here. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is a furnace fan control board. A lot of the newer furnaces are coming with two separate control boards. One's going to tell it to turn on, do all those things. And you have a separate control board, which is going to be for the fan. First thing that you're going to have is you're going to have a spade terminal on here that's going to be for power. The other one's going to be for ground. One for the thermostat and then one for the fan. So the quick test that you can do with this is, do you have power and ground going to it? So your ground, which would be your black wire on your multimeter most likely, is going to go to the ground wire on here, power on here. What is my voltage? Do I have 13 volts going to it or something like 12? If I do, then from there we're going to want to go to the next step. Am I getting power out of my control board? So is my fan sending power? Are you getting power from your power terminal over to your fan? If yes, then your fan should be kicking in. If not, it could be your main control board. This specific one had a burnt spot on it from reverse polarity, so that's where we were talking. It's very important to have your battery connected properly. Don't put your positive to your negative and vice versa. The next control board we got here is going to actually be a water heater control board. The top terminals up here are going to be for power in, and then the bottom terminals will be for power out. You do have a fuse on this control board, so again, your multimeter, set it to DC voltage. You can take your power one and connect it right to one terminal on this fuse, and then you're going to want to go to a ground, which is generally going to be a white wire on here. Otherwise, just ground it right to the copper fitting for the gas line coming to that. And then you're going to check it on both sides. Again, you should have 12 volts plus. If you do, this fuse is good. From there, you're going to be able to go down. There is going to be a wiring schematic that will then go over and tell you what one is what on here. So what you're looking for is power going in, power going out to the water heater to tell it to turn on. In most cases, there's a thermal fuse that is connected to your water heater. That thermal fuse could be blown. That's going to be attached to a wire on the actual thermostat or ECO, which is located on that water heater. Otherwise, you're just going to have a couple other control boards here. One's going to be for a slide room control board here. So you're going to have motor 1, motor 2, extend and retract, power and ground. Again, first step we're looking for is, do I have power and ground going into my control board? Yes. There should be some lights that are on inside here then. If the light is on, it will blink if there is a issue going on. So it'll tell you one blink is going to be for motor 1, 2 blinks for motor 2. And then there's going to be another sequence which will go through blinks all the way from 2 all the way through 9. And it all is labeled right on here as what's going on. From there, that will kind of tell you what motor is giving you the issue. There is a couple other things on here that you can look at. If you do have this style control board, it will actually run you step by step how to go into manual override, all that stuff there. And then another control board that you're going to see, a lot of times it's more on fifth wheels, but sometimes you do see it on some travel trailers, which is going to be for the leveling system. That leveling system is going to be for an LCI leveling system. You're going to have a power button and then a couple other functions going on here. But the main thing I want to go over right now is on the back side. You're going to have some terminals again. You'll be able to check for power and ground. If you have power and ground going to it, it should be turning on. If it's not turning on, more than likely you have a bad control board. Otherwise, in a situation like this specific control board I got here, there's a little bit of corrosion on here. That corrosion came from some moisture getting in there. What this one was doing is it would power on, and only like some of the systems would actually work. So you might be able to run to extend the jacks, but you wouldn't be able to retract them, stuff like that. So again, moisture obviously is not good for control boards. So if you are seeing a control board that might be getting some moisture on it. You might want to find a way to seal that up so that stops happening. One other thing then you're going to have here is an awning motor. Quick troubleshoot for this one is going to be, again, do I have power and ground going to my red and white wire? If yes, again, this should be moving. If not, more than likely this is bad. But another simple test sometimes with these awning motors is they do have a manual crank right on the top here on most of them. You'll be able to take a socket and put it on there and run that a little bit manually. I always like to do that before I truly say a motor is bad, because sometimes just from sitting, they can get kind of seized up. You break it loose, all of a sudden it'll start working again. The one thing I will tell you with an awning motor is that the awning motors are capable of reverse polarity. So even if you were to take that wire and hook it up opposite, the motor will still run. It'll just be opposite at the switch. So extend might now be retract, and retract might now be extend. So you are going to want to just verify everything's connected right there. And last but not least, you are going to have probably the most common issue with a furnace in a trailer is you're going to have a sail switch. This sail switch here, basically, as that furnace turns on, it will run that fan. That fan will depress the switch. That will then send power to and through the switch. Once it's through it, it'll tell it to spark and light. Situation I ran into just the other day actually was low voltage causing the switch to not fully engage. So what was happening was the furnace was only getting 11.5 volts, which was not enough to fully kick that fan into high gear. It would then tell it to kick in from the thermostat, so the fan would run, but it would only run for about 30 seconds. Once I found the low voltage issue, which was extra wiring that was added into that furnace, I removed that extra wiring, and then I ended up having the switch actually working then. The customer then wanted me to replace the switch anyways, just to make sure, since I was already in there. We replaced it. Furnace is now working and doing everything it should. So again, that's just a quick step-by-step video on how to check for voltage at multiple different control boards. One step that you're always just going to want to do is, again, get that multimeter. From there, you're just going to find your power and ground wires. You're going to connect to those power and ground wires and verify that you have proper voltage. If you're plugged in to your main shore power, you should always have about 13 plus volts. If you are going to be just running off the battery and you're not plugged in, you should be above 12 volts if you're trying to run any appliance. Anything below 12 volts, again, you might start running into issues like that sail switch, where it may not fully seat just because it's not running fast enough. So a few different steps there to check. Hopefully that's a little bit helpful there on a couple different things you can look for. Again, hopefully if you guys enjoy these videos, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever it is. Let me know if there's anything you want me to fully do a video on. Again, I'm going to keep trying to get more out. Otherwise, thanks for watching and stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more.